Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'll be reviewing The Black Phone. The Black Phone is a new horror, thriller, supernatural film, and it's directed by Scott Dickerson, who you may know from Sinister or Doctor Strange fame. Now, this film is being put out by Blumhouse, who has made some of the most iconic horror movies over the years, but has also put out some questionable releases, so I was really going into it not knowing what to expect. In this film, we see Ethan Hawke, who plays the Grabber. He is someone who's going around this small town in the 1970s, and he's abducting children, taking them into his basement. And this story follows one child named Finney, who's abducted, and he goes down into the Grabber's basement, and there's a black phone hanging on the wall, and every time the black phone rings, it is one of the previous victims of the Grabber trying to give him advice, helping him to escape this situation. And I think one of the things that works really well about this movie, and the thing that sets it apart from a lot of other horror releases that we've had recently, is that it does fixate on the victims of the past and have that supernatural element that you don't see in a lot of movies like this, because I do like that it goes into the victims. It focuses on the victims and it gives them a justice. It gives them a certain ability to get back at the Grabber. When in other movies, when we have like a slasher film or anything like this, kind of the victims are an afterthought. It's just a body count. But in this one, really drive the narrative forward with helping Finney in a way that I think is really creative. The overall production of the movie is really well done. It's filmed mostly in a location where they're in a basement, but it does have that 1970s feel when they're out in the neighborhoods, the relationships with the families, the other children. So it captures on that essence, and I like that a movie like this takes place in the past, because a thing like this would be harder to take place in the future with modern technology and cell phones and things like that. So when they decide to place horror movies in the past, I think it ends up working out really well for just the overall logic of the movie. Also a really interesting feature about Ethan Hawke's character, because he wears this really creepy mask. You've probably seen it in a lot of the marketing. It's a really cool and almost instantly iconic look. But I like that throughout the film, as his mood changes and as things become more and more dark and more bleak for our main character, we see the mask changing. He goes from this big grinning smile to, by the end, it's this dark, menacing look. And I like how that kind of mirrors how things are going throughout the film. One of the things that I think is maybe a little bit of a knock on the movie is the overall logic. And that's one of those things that you kind of have to put aside when you go to see a horror film, is like why the characters do kind of some dumb things, why they make some decisions that they make. But I do think it works because, you know, he's a kid, he's a little naive, so maybe he wouldn't be thinking through everything that he's doing to a T, and it helps bring it all together at the end, though. Because each spirit, each former victim that he's talking to through the black phone is helping him find another little piece to the puzzle that'll help him escape, whether that is, you know, pulling a grate off of a window, whether it's digging a hole in the ground, whether it's getting into, you know, another part of the room that he couldn't see, but they were able to tell him like a little secrets to help him get through this. There's also a really strong bond with family in this movie, and it's something I didn't know going into it, is you have this relationship with Finney and his sister, and those were some of the best moments in the movie. I think both the actors did a great job, especially as young children actors. You never know what you're going to expect, but they both gave some really strong and powerful performances, and it really has a theme of accepting who you are and getting past your fears and being true to who you are, because Finney is kind of this bullied, like weak individual, but by the end he's strong. He's kind of come out of his cocoon as like this new, stronger person through the help of the spirits and overcoming the Grabber and all that. But then you also see the daughter, who has these visions. She has this kind of supernatural ability that took her mother away because her mother committed suicide. She struggled with, you know, accepting what these things are, what was happening. But she's able to kind of bring that full circle and accept who she is. And their father comes in, he's an abusive drunk, and by the end, kind of everything kind of works out. So it's really interesting how all those pieces came together. While being a horror film, while being dark and sinister, it still has those elements to it. And as far as how scary it is, I think it's more of a suspenseful, thrilling kind of movie. There is some gore, there is some graphic nature to it, and I have to say Ethan Hawke played a really creepy individual. He did a fantastic job in this one. But I wouldn't say it's a super scary movie. I don't think it's as scary as Sinister. It definitely has those paranormal elements that make it more interesting and thrilling and suspenseful, which are integrated really well. It's not overbearing. It's not like a really over-the-top ghost type movie. It has like very subtle paranormal nature to it that I think a lot of people would enjoy, whether you're someone who likes slasher films, you're someone who likes those kind of like paranormal activity type paranormal movies. It's a nice blend of all it together, and I think that's why it's really resonated with a lot of people. So if I were to rate The Black Phone, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's one of the best horror movies in recent years, one of the best films of the year so far. Ethan Hawke is fantastic. I think the one thing that falls a little bit short is the logic of the characters, and maybe if you're someone who's going into expecting this over-the-top graphic movie, you might be a little disappointed because it has a little bit of a slow build, but I think the payoff of all the moments of the characters coming together, the relationships with the spirits, with the families. It gives it a little bit more of an impact. You're really rooting for this character to beat this kind of crazy grabber individual. So I think it works on those levels. So if you checked out The Black Phone, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. And also, interestingly enough, they're doing a Blumhouse house at Halloween Horror Nights. They've done it in the past in Orlando, Universal Studios Orlando. So I'll be interested to see how they integrate this movie into that house, because when I'm watching it, I thought it was going to be something really different. But if you're someone who's checked out Halloween Horror Nights, are you excited for that? What's one of the houses you'd love to see this year? Leave those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.